In this video, we're going to be answering people's questions and adding even more value to the community. So I'm looking forward to hear your comments, and why not press like if you get value from the video. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to provide some definition for you. Straight after I provide some definition, I'll go into answering your question. So just to summarize, for those of you who are listening, James asked a really powerful question. The question James has asked is, how can you effectively find property opportunities in the midst of what's going on, where potentially the government have said there's going to be X amount of mortalities, etc., etc. Is that a good definition of your question, James?
100%, that's it.
All right, perfect. So just to start with, here we go, James. When I first started getting interested in property, this was 2002, 2003, okay? There was no real UK market of people teaching about property, explaining about property, etc. So because of that, I spent a lot of time on the internet getting e-manuals. That's what they used to be called. An e-book used to be called an e-manual. So I got a bunch of e-manuals. I was reading about property all of those years back before there was really networking events and stuff in the UK. And that's how I first started learning about creative property investing strategies. Now, one of the benefits of that, but it was also a drawback, was the fact that all of the things, the majority of the things I was reading were either American or Australian. So because they were American or Australian, the language was different to the language you use in the UK. So I'll give you an example. You used the term, when you first started asking your question, you used the term wholesaling. Now, if you Google the word wholesaling, or if you YouTube search the word wholesaling, you will get hundreds of thousands of videos on the topic of wholesaling. But if you check any of those videos, none of them will be a UK video. None of them will relate to the UK. Now, the reason why is because wholesaling is just the American word for what we call in England sourcing. Yeah. So when you're talking about deal sourcing, deal packaging, property sourcing, in the UK, we use that terminology. It's just like the word real estate. In the US, the word real estate just means property. In the UK, we use the word property instead of the word real estate. So just as a foundation of definition, the reason you know about wholesaling and stuff like that is because the majority of the content creators for property are American. So most of the content you'll come across will be American. So you had an interim question. I'm going to answer that, then I'll come to your main question. So your interim question is, how transferable are the things you learn from the American market to the UK market? Now, the answer to that is they are very transferable. That's the first place I'm going to start with you. Now, if they weren't transferable, I would not have a property business. That's where I'm going to start with. You know, the majority, 99% of my property business has been developed and grown out of things I learned from Americans and Australians. So what I had to do, which hopefully you wouldn't have to do now, but what I had to do over the last 8, 9, 10, 12 years is I had to take that information and translate it into English. Okay. And when I say translate it into English, I don't mean because it didn't make sense to me. I mean because when you hear someone in America say, yeah, this is what I did a subject to deal, okay? So subject to is a strategy that you'll hear a lot of the American real estate investors talk about. Now, what does that mean in English? In London, in England, it doesn't mean subject to. In England, it's completely different. In England, that means basically it's a type of lease option, okay? So what I had to do is I had to learn the stuff from the American market, but then I had to build my power team in the UK and teach my power team what they were saying in America without saying, I heard this on a YouTube video, or I heard this from an e-manual, or I read this in a book, etc. So the key is the stuff transferable? Yes, the stuff's transferable, but the best thing for you to do is get yourself a coach or get yourself someone who can guide you, who's already done all of the translating. Because if you get yourself connected with someone who's already done the translating, they can speak to you about it in the UK English language. Now, one of the benefits of understanding the stuff in the UK English language is when you go and speak to a property solicitor, you can say to that solicitor, look, I'm looking at doing a deal where I can do an exchange with a delayed completion, and I change the original deposit from a 10% investment to a £1,000 investment. So the point I'm making right there is I'm clearly articulating in UK English a particular approach or a particular strategy. And the reason I can do that is because I've understood it from the American market. I've spent the time working with my power team to kind of understand, okay, what's that called in our landscape? And then when I understood what I call it in our landscape, I've either coached people on it, taught people on it, or worked with my power team to make it happen. So they're the two interim questions. Now, let's go on to your main question, because I think that's going to be of real value to a lot of people that are actually tuning in. So James's primary question was, with what's going on right now, where is there going to be property opportunity? Now, like I said, tomorrow at 7 p.m, I'm going to be running a webinar. I'll try and see if I can post that webinar link inside of the chat, because then that way everyone can go and get signed up for the webinar straight after they come off this. So I've put that in the chat, tiny.cc/property webinar. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about exactly that. But just to answer your question, the key to all of this, if I'm going to be really honest with you, James, is marketing. Okay, the key is marketing. A lot of people do not understand how powerful marketing is. So a number of years ago, I created an ebook called The Sourcing Blueprint. It's something that in a moment I'll put up on the screen for you to have a link and go and get. Now, the Sourcing Blueprint, all it was a simple ebook where I explained the 4 key things that are needed in order for people to successfully source, if we use that word, property opportunities. And the first piece of the 4 pieces is M for marketing. Okay, and people forget how powerful marketing is. Right now, the landscape we're in, it's your marketing that's going to allow people to find you, even though they're self-isolating in their home. Okay, so you got hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people who are stuck in their house right now, who, because a lot of people are not doing marketing, because a lot of people, like I said earlier, are just listening to the government, running, doing their two exercises or 1 exercise a day, staying in their house. They've got property business, but they're not being in business. They've just shut their business down. They're just expecting that in a week or 2, the government's going to give them a check of 2,500 and they're going to be okay. Like, guys, it doesn't work like that. You don't start a business to let someone else pay or run your business. You start a business to run your business for yourself. So the point I'm making is, right now, you could be marketing, but some people are not marketing because they think, oh, I can't, or how can I? Okay, and if it's a how can I, then that's great. Go and find out how you can. On the webinar tomorrow, that's one of the things we'll be talking about. But the point is, marketing is the key to put yourself in a position where people can find you. And that's the issue right now. People don't know how to be found. So the key is, in 6 months from now, 9 months from now, the kind of time period you've alluded to, James, when people potentially have more assets they want to get rid of, the key is going to be who marketed to them successfully enough, ethically enough, for them to turn around and say, I need to call James, or I need to call Samuel, because that's the guy who assured me he could help me to sell my house quickly, or rent my house quickly, or, find a strategy for me if I didn't know what to do, etc., etc. Is that helpful? Yeah.
It's very, very helpful.
So James, that's what I'd say to you. Get yourself with a coach. Make sure you're around someone who can help you move forward, and look at how you can basically take full advantage of the opportunities that are available right now. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it's very, very quickly. So I know
Go for it.
About marketing, but when you say marketing, I'm assuming you mean like, just really kind of put it like. Basically, what I'm saying is, traditionally in the UK, also we know that people tend to use like estate agents to find properties, whatever. But
Yep.
at the same time, I mean, as a deal sourcer, you're not going to go to an estate agent and say, "Oh, by the way,
You'd be surprised.
You are the middleman. You're trying to find the property owner."
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case of like, what's the most common way of finding property owners? So, for example, I know in America, there's a guy called Max Maxwell.
I know Max.
He basically uses, he basically uses a system called Skip Trace.
Yep, he created that system.
It's not really meant to be used to find people, but it's actually used by bounty hunters in America.
Yep.
To find people who owe like taxes and whatever, basically wanted in a government warrant.
That's right.
He uses this technology to go around to houses that look a little bit run down, and then he uses Skip Trace to find the owner of the house and say, "Look, I know this house obviously clearly no one's living in it. You own it. Do you want to sell?" So I kind of wonder, like, what's the UK equivalent of that, if there is one at all?
Okay, so what I'm
So that's the third question. Yeah.
You know what? It's fine. No worries for asking the third question. So what I'm going to do, guys, first and foremost, I'm going to explain what James just asked as his third question. And then from there, I'm going to just chuck some value out there. So James's third question was, in the US, he's found that people use a process called skip tracing in order to find what they call absentee owners. Absentee owners are people who own properties, but they're not present. So for example, if you write to them, they don't respond, etc. Now skip tracing, like you said, is a process where effectively bounty hunters use that process in order to find people that have absconded or people that are on the run, etc. So yeah, in the US, it's become a big fad in the last 12 months. In the last 12-24 months, a lot of people are using skip tracing processes, etc., in order to move forward and find people. What I would say to you is, in the US or in the UK, let me start by saying this, I'm not going to share with you what the equivalent is. Okay, what I want you to do is think about that for yourself, because this is the good thing about translating this stuff. If you know enough about what the process is doing and who the process is for in the US, you can then think about what the process is for and who's doing that in the UK. Does that make sense, James? Yeah? All right, but I am going to ask the question that you kind of hid, okay? And the question that you had hidden in terms of your question was, what kind of marketing is working effectively in the UK? All right, so I'm just going to keep it very basic. Like, if you go get the sourcing blueprint, it's on the screen right now as our free resource, our recommended resource for this live stream. You can see the link, impactproperties.co.uk/sourcing blueprint. You can go get that absolutely free. That will help you. But the point is this. What you need to understand, James, is all marketing works. The question is whether you do the marketing properly. So I'm going to give you a few ideas. So for example, billboards, okay? Billboards work, but are you actually putting the billboards in the right place for the right audience with the right messaging in order for those billboards to produce results for you? Leaflets, okay? Leafleting. Now, obviously, because of the current climate, you might not be able to go around handing out leaflets. But the funniest thing is, in the last 2 weeks, whilst most people have been on lockdown, I've seen leafleters leafleting. Okay, now the issue is this: if those leafleters are leafleting your leaflet, are you getting opportunities right now? The answer is you would be. Okay, so if I'm seeing leafleters for the last 2 weeks, you know, everybody who's on this stream is from all over the place. So you can ask yourself right now, whilst people are in isolation, have you seen leafleters doing leaflets? If the answer is yes, then that means your leaflet could have been going out right now. That's one thing I'm going to say. The next thing is, besides leafleting, you got online marketing. Okay, Facebook marketing, YouTube marketing. You know, we see ads all the time. We see ads on buses. You know, those are those people who are in that I've got an online program. Those people who are on my online program, they will know one of the things I teach is about basically funding a charity event and providing marketing materials as part of your donation. So I'll give you an example. If you funded a charity football event between two five-a-side football teams, all of these 12-year-olds versus 12-year-olds, and you provided a bag full, 10, sponsored footballs, and all of those footballs have your logo on with a quick message, we buy houses quickly, okay? Who does stuff like that? Most people don't do that stuff. You know why? Because most people don't really understand what marketing is. They don't understand marketing is about presenting your message in front of people who are usually the right audience in order for them to click buy, or in order for them to get involved, or in order for them to opt in, if you use that terminology. Yeah? So that's a bit of added value for you, James. Like I said, I don't usually share that with anyone except for those people on my online course. But look, I'm just one of those people. I'm out here. I love giving value. I love helping people. So hopefully that's helped you, what we've shared as well. Yeah?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, James. Great to have you on as a caller as well. All right, guys. So that wraps us up. I'm really interested in finding out how you've actually found the value that we've shared on this particular video. So what I'd like to invite you to do is write a comment in the comments below and let us know what was kind of your key takeaway from this particular video. Side by side with that, why not hit subscribe and become a part of our channel and keep up to date with every single video that we drop, as well as the live streams, so that basically you can get your questions answered as well in those actual sessions. Now, last but not least, I'm going to encourage you to go and watch this video here, where we're going to basically help you move forward in your property journey, or this video right here, where we're going to be sharing with you even more insights as it pertains to property. This is Samuel I Can Win. I'm signing out. Have a great day.